Nutrient, Wikipedia audio. A nutrient is a substance used by an organism to survive, grow, and reproduce. The requirement for dietary nutrient intake applies to animals, plants, fungi, and protists. Nutrients can be incorporated into cells for metabolic purposes or excreted by cells to create non-cellular structures, such as hair, scales, feathers, or exoskeletons. Some nutrients can be metabolically converted to smaller molecules in the process of releasing energy, such as for carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and fermentation products, leading to end products of water and carbon dioxide. All organisms require water. Essential nutrients for animals are the energy sources, some of the amino acids that are combined to create proteins, a subset of fatty acids, vitamins, and certain minerals. Plants require more diverse minerals absorbed through roots, plus carbon dioxide and oxygen absorbed through leaves. Fungi live on dead or living organic matter and meet nutrient needs from their host. Different types of organism have different essential nutrients. Ascorbic acid is essential, meaning it must be consumed in sufficient amounts to humans and some other animal species, but not to all animals and not to plants, which are able to synthesize it. Nutrients may be organic or inorganic. Organic compounds include most compounds containing carbon, while all other chemicals are inorganic. Inorganic nutrients include nutrients such as iron, selenium, and zinc, while organic nutrients include, among many others, energy-providing compounds and vitamins. A classification used primarily to describe nutrient needs of animals divides nutrients into macronutrients and micronutrients. Consumed in relatively large amounts, macronutrients are used primarily to generate energy or to incorporate into tissues for growth and repair. Micronutrients are needed in smaller amounts. They have subtle biochemical and physiological roles in cellular processes, like vascular functions or nerve conduction. Inadequate amounts of essential nutrients, or diseases that interfere with absorption, result in a deficiency state that compromises growth, survival, and reproduction. Consumer advisories for dietary nutrient intakes, such as the United States Dietary Reference Intake, are based on deficiency outcomes and provide macronutrient and micronutrient guides for both lower and upper limits of intake. In many countries, macronutrients and micronutrients in significant content are required by regulations to be displayed on food product labels. Nutrients in larger quantities than the body needs may have harmful effects. Edible plants also contain thousands of compounds generally called phytochemicals which have unknown effects on disease or health, including a diverse class with non-nutrient status called polyphenols, which remain poorly understood as of 2017. Plant nutrition. Plant nutrients consist of more than a dozen minerals absorbed through roots, plus carbon dioxide and oxygen absorbed or released through leaves. All organisms obtain all their nutrients from the surrounding environment. Plants absorb carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen from air. These three, in the form of water and carbon dioxide. Other nutrients are absorbed from soil. Counting these, there are 17 important nutrients for plants. The macronutrients nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, sulfur, magnesium, carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, and the micronutrients iron, boron, chlorine, manganese, zinc, copper, molybdenum, and nickel. In addition to carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur are also needed in relatively large quantities. Together, the big six are the elemental macronutrients for all organisms. They are sourced from inorganic matter and organic matter. The chemical elements humans consume in the largest quantities are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur, summarized as CNOPS. The chemical compounds that humans consume in the largest quantities and provide bulk energy are classified as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Water must be also consumed in large quantities. Calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and chloride ions, along with phosphorus and sulfur, are among the macronutrients because they are required in large quantities, compared to micronutrients, such as vitamins and minerals. Macronutrients are defined in several ways. Macronutrients provide energy. Fat has an energy content of 9 kilocalories/g, proteins and carbohydrates 4 kcal/g, ethanol 7 kcal/g. Micronutrients support metabolism. An essential nutrient is a nutrient required for normal physiological function that cannot be synthesized in the body either at all or in sufficient quantities and thus must be obtained from a dietary source. Apart from water, which is universally required for the maintenance of homeostasis in mammals, essential nutrients are indispensable for various cellular metabolic processes and maintaining tissue and organ function. In the case of humans, there are 9 amino acids, 2 fatty acids, 13 vitamins, and 15 minerals that are considered essential nutrients. In addition, there are several molecules that are considered conditionally essential nutrients since they are indispensable in certain developmental and pathological states. Carbohydrates are compounds made up of types of sugar. Carbohydrates are classified according to their number of sugar units: monosaccharides, disaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. Proteins are organic compounds that consist of amino acids joined by peptide bonds. Since the body cannot manufacture some of the amino acids, the diet must supply them. Through digestion, proteins are broken down by proteases back into free amino acids. Fats consist of a glycerin molecule with 3 fatty acids attached. Fatty acid molecules contain a COOH group attached to unbranched hydrocarbon chains connected by single bonds alone or by both double and single bonds. Fats are needed for construction and maintenance of cell membranes, to maintain a stable body temperature, and to sustain the health of skin and hair. Because the body does not manufacture certain fatty acids, they must be obtained through one's diet. Ethanol supplies calories. For spirits, a standard serving in the United States is 1.5 U.S. fluid ounces, which at 40% ethanol would be 14 grams and 98 calories. At 50% alcohol, 17.5 grams and 122.5 calories. Wine and beer contain a similar amount of ethanol in servings of 5 U.S. fluid ounces and 12 U.S. fluid ounces, respectively, but these beverages also contain non-ethanol calories. A 5-ounce serving of wine contains 100 to 130 calories. A 12-ounce serving of beer contains 95 to 200 calories. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, based on NHANES 2013-2014 surveys, women ages 20 and up consume on average 6.8 grams of alcohol per day and men consume on average 15.5 grams per day. Ignoring the non-alcohol contribution of those beverages, the average ethanol calorie contributions are 48 and 108 cal/day, respectively. Alcoholic beverages are considered empty calorie foods because, other than calories, they contribute no essential nutrients. An essential amino acid is an amino acid that is required by an organism but cannot be synthesized de novo by it, and therefore must be supplied in its diet. Out of the 20 standard protein-producing amino acids, 9 cannot be endogenously synthesized by humans: phenylalanine, valine, threonine, tryptophan, methionine, leucine, isoleucine, lysine, and histidine. Essential fatty acids are fatty acids that humans and other animals must ingest because the body requires them for good health but cannot synthesize them. Only 2 fatty acids are known to be essential for humans: alpha-linolenic acid and linoleic acid. Dietary minerals are generally trace elements, salts, or ions such as copper and iron. Some of these minerals are essential to human metabolism. Vitamins are organic compounds essential to the body. They usually act as coenzymes or cofactors for various proteins in the body. Types of nutrient. Vitamins are organic molecules essential for an organism that are not classified as amino acids or fatty acids. They commonly function as enzymatic cofactors, metabolic regulators, or antioxidants. Humans require 13 vitamins in their diet, most of which are actually groups of related molecules. The list: vitamins A, C, D, E, K, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid, vitamin B6, biotin, folate and vitamin B12. The requirement for vitamin D is conditional, as people who get sufficient exposure to ultraviolet light, either from the sun or an artificial source, synthesize vitamin D in skin. Minerals are the exogenous chemical elements indispensable for life. Although the 4 elements, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, are essential for life, they are so plentiful in food and drink that these are not considered nutrients and there are no recommended intakes for these as minerals. The need for nitrogen is addressed by requirements set for protein, which is composed of nitrogen-containing amino acids. Sulfur is essential, but again does not have a recommended intake. Instead, recommended intakes are identified for the sulfur-containing amino acids methionine and cysteine. There are dietary supplements which provide sulfur, such as methylsulfonylmethane. The essential nutrient elements for humans, listed in order of recommended dietary allowance, are potassium, chlorine, sodium, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, iron, zinc, manganese, copper, iodine, chromium, molybdenum, selenium, and cobalt. There are other minerals which are essential for some plants and animals, but may or may not be essential for humans, such as boron and silicon. Conditionally essential nutrients are certain organic molecules that can normally be synthesized by an organism, but under certain conditions in insufficient quantities. In humans, such conditions include premature birth, limited nutrient intake, rapid growth, and certain disease states. Choline, inositol, taurine, arginine, glutamine and nucleotides are classified as conditionally essential and are particularly important in neonatal diet and metabolism. Non-essential nutrients are substances within foods that can have a significant impact on health. These substances can be beneficial or toxic. For example, dietary fiber is not absorbed in the human digestive tract, but is important in maintaining the bulk of a bowel movement to avoid constipation. A subset of dietary fiber, known as soluble fiber, can be metabolized by bacteria residing in the large intestine. Soluble fiber is marketed as serving a prebiotic function promoting healthy intestinal bacteria. Bacterial metabolism of soluble fiber also produces short-chain fatty acids like butyric acid, which may be absorbed into intestinal cells as a source of calories. By definition, phytochemicals include all nutritional and non-nutritional components of edible plants. Included as nutritional constituents are provitamin A carotenoids, whereas those without nutrient status are diverse polyphenols, flavonoids, resveratrol, and lignans often claimed to have antioxidant effects that are present in numerous plant foods. A number of phytochemical compounds are under preliminary research for their potential effects on human diseases and health. However, the qualification for nutrient status of compounds with poorly defined properties in vivo is that they must first be defined with a dietary reference intake level to enable accurate food labeling, a condition not established for most phytochemicals that are claimed to be antioxidant nutrients. See vitamin, mineral, protein. Macronutrients. Micronutrients. An inadequate amount of a nutrient is a deficiency. Deficiencies can be due to a number of causes including an inadequacy in nutrient intake, called a dietary deficiency, or any of several conditions that interfere with the utilization of a nutrient within an organism. Some of the conditions that can interfere with nutrient utilization include problems with nutrient absorption, substances that cause a greater than normal need for a nutrient, conditions that cause nutrient destruction, and conditions that cause greater nutrient excretion. Nutrient toxicity occurs when excess consumption of a nutrient does harm to an organism. Essentiality. Essential nutrients. Amino acids. Fatty acids. Vitamins. In the United States and Canada, recommended dietary intake levels of essential nutrients are based on the minimum level that will maintain a defined level of nutriture in an individual, a definition somewhat different from that used by the World Health Organization and Food and Agriculture Organization of a basal requirement to indicate the level of intake needed to prevent pathologically relevant and clinically detectable signs of a dietary inadequacy. In setting human nutrient guidelines, government organizations do not necessarily agree on amounts needed to avoid deficiency or maximum amounts to avoid the risk of toxicity. For example, for vitamin C, recommended intakes range from 40 mg/day in India to 155 mg/day for the European Union. The table below shows U.S. estimated average requirements and recommended dietary allowances for vitamins and minerals, pre for the European Union, followed by what 3 government organizations deem to be the safe upper intake. RDAs are set higher than EARs to cover people with higher than average needs. Adequate intakes are set when there is not sufficient information to establish EARs and RDAs. Governments are slow to revise information of this nature. For the U.S. values, with the exception of calcium and vitamin D, all of the data date to 1997 to 2004. EAR U.S. estimated average requirements. Minerals. RDA U.S. recommended dietary allowances, higher for adults than for children, and may be even higher for women who are pregnant or lactating. AIUS adequate intake, ACE established when there is not sufficient information to set EARs and RDAs. PRI population reference intake is European Union equivalent of RDA, higher for adults than for children, and may be even higher for women who are pregnant or lactating. For thiamine and niacin, the PRI are expressed as amounts per mg of calories consumed. mg equals megajoule equals 239 food calories. Upper limit tolerable upper intake levels. NDLs have not been determined. NERs, pre, or ACE have not yet been established or will not be. Conditionally essential nutrients. Non-essential nutrients. Non-nutrients. Deficiencies and toxicity.